and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we have Kevin Wilson with us.
Hello.
Hey Kevin, how's it going?
Oh, living the dream, Andrew, living the dream. It is a miserable fall day out right now, but it's going to be beautiful out, and I am trying to embrace the good today.
See? There you go. You know, that's, the leaves are kind of changing colors. It is pretty wet out there right now today, but it does feel nice and warm. You know, like I walked out there wearing a jacket. I thought it was going to be cold. It's pretty toasty out there, so... You know, little remnants of summer still hanging around.
Yeah, no, we're gonna get some nice warm weather. I'm gonna try to be outside as much as possible. Get to spend that time campaigning, but still enjoying the outdoors as much as I can. Yeah.
What do you think, Kevin? Are we gonna have a nice, cool 60-degree winter this year?
No. It's 2020, Andrew. It's not happening.
It's going to be a 90-degree winter this year. I'm excited. Here we go.
90-degree. Just going to go the total opposite direction. Just not expecting that. Just hot winter.
Yep.
Polar ice caps melted.
Gone.
But I can wear shorts in Rochester, so...
Your flooded house.
Yeah. My house is kind of on high ground. It never floods. I'll be fine. Someone else is going to have a problem. I'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll all be sandbagging at the, at the lakeshore again.
Again, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, friends up in Charlotte and North Greece and along the Lake Ontario shore. Still an ongoing concern for flooding up there. Me where I live, I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I'm on a little hill. I think my power lines are buried. I never lose power. I'm good.
There you go. Yep.
Good place to ride out whatever apocalypse befalls us over the next few months.
Yeah. It's funny. I saw the other day that murder hornets are making a comeback again, I guess.
Oh, good. I was wondering when that storyline was going to come back.
So somebody shared with me kind of a good theory to what's happening here. This is not typical Radio Free New York discussion, by the way. If you're first time on the show.
It's fine. This is good segment 1 discussion.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We're just roping you in at this point. So you know how when time travel happens and you try to fix something that's broken, it just makes something else like much more worse and awful, and that cycle just keeps repeating. So, or at least that's the theory.
Yeah, you got the whole butterfly effect going. Like, oh man, I stopped this one thing, but caused this other huge, massive problem.
Yep. So somebody shared with me the theory that that's just what's happened in 2020, which is why so many terrible things keep happening, and that's why like murder hornets were a thing, and then all of a sudden they were just gone. Somebody went back in time, they like fixed it, but then just something else terrible happened in place. I forget what happened like immediately following the murder hornets, but now they probably realized that the murder hornets were better than whatever thing they just fixed, so they're making a comeback.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I think right of that was when the George Floyd stuff started happening. So
yep. That
was the next step.
Happened.
Is it someone went back in time, tried to fix the murder hornets issue? Maybe it could have been bigger. Maybe murder hornets would be the story of the year, but nope. The things changed, and and now we're on a totally different path.
Yeah, and maybe they did quell the murder hornet issue, and now it's just arising as like another issue later in the timeline. Like maybe that's what happened.
That's it. I mean, the writers have really gone off the rails for 2020. Whatever simulation we're in, guys, just stop. Give us a break.
You know what is going to be very interesting though, looking back at the year 2020, 10 years from now, and just all the movie titles are just going to be the year 2020. You know, like narrated by, Samuel Jackson and, a whole bunch of other great voices. Yep. That's going to be it.
Yeah, no, I mean that is gonna be it's gonna be a very distinct time in movies too, because all you have to do is like there's a shortcut. You don't have to explain to people the context of the time you're in. You want to make a movie about 2020, 30 years from now, you just put masks on everyone's faces. That's all you do, and they're like, oh, that's 2020. That's when that was. That's when that takes place.
Well,
and actually, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was watching a show recently. I was watching a show. It was called Woke on Hulu. Probably, I don't know. I'm not sure that everyone on the stage would appreciate, but I thought it was interesting because it was filmed and it ended up wrapping up filming at the end of February of this year, and it was like late enough where they made a joke about like someone wearing a mask on the bus and being like, "Oh man, why are they wearing a mask? Like, what if they have corona or something? I hate taking the bus." And yeah, and I'm like, wait, when was this filmed? Yeah, and then we looked up the date and we're like, oh, what? Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. Yep. Well, something I think about is how things become a part of general expression in language. So, there'll be like certain phrases that have developed over time that make you wonder where that phrase came from. And like inevitably, like years from now, people will be like, stop being so 2020. And they'll be talking about like something really bad, like, wow, these sales figures look real 2020, guys. Like this is not good. We gotta turn this around, or some other like weird phrases that I'm sure are going to become a part of normal language moving forward. Because
it's going to have the same level of infamy as like 1929 type of years,
Yep.
Like I mean, or maybe we're overblowing it. Maybe a couple years from now we're going to be like, that was a weird blip, and then we go back to doing whatever we're doing. Who knows? And that's the tough part. We don't know what's going to happen in the next few years.
Yeah. And speaking of the timeline, I did see, I think it was yesterday, somebody's now predicting an asteroid is going to hit the Earth on Election Day, if I read that correctly.
That sounds about right.
I mean, so, I'm sure that will disappear too. In December we'll have some other, issue. I'm hoping for summer.
Summer.
Yep. Christmas and July just backwards.
Okay, yeah, July and Christmas.
July and Christmas. Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean that might be where we'll get. There's weird stuff going on. It's all 50 Cent is endorsing Trump now. Actually, I had this idea for a Twitter account that I never ended up executing on. Maybe someone else will do it better than I could because I just never followed through. And it's just images to send back in time, and just like taking something like that, taking like 50 Cent endorses Trump and sending that back to like 2005. If someone in 2005 saw that headline, 50 Cent endorses Donald Trump for president, how do they respond to that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That would be like a fun account, and like you could have people just post their reactions to it. Actually, that would be great for TikTok if people then posted their TikTok reactions to how they think they would have reacted in 2005 or 2008 or whenever. Like, make a TikTok about your 2008 self reacting to this image.
Wait, Andrew, are you on TikTok now? Have you jumped into that?
I think it's getting banned like next week or something, right? Or
no,
did they fix that yet?
It's not. No, it's still all right for now.
For now.
Yeah.
I thought they had a deadline. They keep moving the deadline. Before it was the 12th of this month.
No, court put a stop to that, and it seems like it's getting bought out, and it's going to be moving to U.S. management anyhow.
Oh, there you go. Yep. So government forced that one too. That's good.
No, but it's not about it. Your head's in the right place. I think like maybe it could make a good TikTok. I don't know. I'm not on TikTok. I haven't gotten that yet. I've criticized it. I don't. I find.
Kevin?
I know.
Gotta catch up.
I find it creepy. Well, I find the current ownership creepy. Even though I didn't like any of the banning TikTok stuff, I still don't quite want like a partially state-owned or influenced company, a Chinese state-owned or influenced company, to be in my phone. Nope.
Correct.
Just don't want that. I prefer only the American government to spy on me because I'm a good patriot.
That's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the Facebook, fine. Just give all my data to the government, but the Chinese government, no. No, that's just wrong. Just doesn't feel right.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm living a pretty digital-free life at this point. No Facebook, no TikTok, Twitter once a blue moon. Instagram I'll check maybe once every 2 weeks, and to be honest, my cell phone hasn't really been working either. So I'm kind of off grid a little bit.
He's going off the grid.
Yeah,
Andrew's gonna go live in a
technology company.
He's gonna go live in a He's gonna live in a cave next.
Yep. Guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about parole reform and kind of what do we think about parole. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Should we use it? Should it go away? We'll talk about that and more when we come back on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Escape from the everyday to a getaway at Woodcliff Hotel and Spa. Woodcliff features elegantly appointed accommodations, creative cuisine, themed suites, full-service spa Elan, and is Rochester's best venue for outdoor wedding receptions overlooking the city skyline. Woodcliff Hotel and Spa, where the experience is extraordinary. Located in Fairport, call 585-381-4000 or visit woodcliffhotelspa.com.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We have Kevin Wilson with us, and today we're going to talk a little bit about parole reform. But before we do that, let's give you guys a little bit of a backstory because there's a local connection to Rochester. Kevin, why don't you fill us in a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So this is something that it's kind of popped up over the last few weeks. There was a man who was convicted of killing two NYPD officers back in 1971. His name at the time was Anthony Bottom. He was one of two people, and they killed these two police officers. They're part of kind of a radical faction of the Black Panther movement at the time. So he was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for the killing of these police officers, and has been in prison since. And in September, he had a parole hearing, and after quite a few unsuccessful attempts at getting parole, after these several decades in prison, this guy was released. He's gone by Jalil now. I think it's Jalil. I was trying to find the correct pronunciation between the break, and I did not. And so you might see it under either of his names. So the local news stories seem to be reporting it as Anthony Bottom, but most of the longer stories about what he did and his fight for getting parole was, are covered using the other name. So just to kind of give some context to this, again, there is a discussion about whether or not New York State should pursue parole reform and other things of like community supervision. This guy, by the way, he served his sentence over in Attica, so not too far from here, and he was released apparently into Brighton, New York, so right near where many of us are. And I guess he's going to be living his life out here. And so I guess the question I want to raise is, for a crime as serious as this, again, the murder of two people, at what point have you paid your debt to society, who've been punished sufficiently to be released? In the case of this, activists and prison reform advocates say that he had served long enough. He had expressed remorse for what he had done and how he had done it. He was 19 at the time. He was pretty young. And so at what point in time do you get out of jail? At what point in time do we... Or should you never get out of jail? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. And Andrew, let me just kind of toss out the question to you. If someone commits a crime, like a very serious crime like this, at 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, are life sentences appropriate?
Yeah, and that's I'm asking myself that question right now. Does it make sense to, when you're talking about something as serious as murder, you're actively making the decision to take somebody's life, and here's the kind of like the little asterisk to that. I'm not talking about self-defense. I'm not even talking about manslaughter where you make a very poor decision or mistake with your vehicle that ends up in the death of somebody else. I'm talking about you actively, consciously made the decision to take somebody's life. I sit here and think that probably life in prison isn't the right answer. I'm kind of thinking that that's what the death penalty was supposed to be for. And now I know death penalty is a really difficult conversation for a lot of people. I understand that. And I will add an asterisk to that, which is I've seen government screw up so many times I don't trust them with it, So we're kind of talking about, an ideal justice system here. But I think that if you are the type of person that is going to willfully take the life of somebody else, even plan it out and execute it, that probably there should be an appropriate judgment for that. I don't know all of his circumstances, and I think it's a fair question to ask society that is our criminal justice system more about justice, or is it about correction and reform? Because if it's going to be simply about justice, then I think probably equal justice would be the death penalty. But if it's going to be about correction, and if it's going to be about reform, and if that's what society is looking for, then I think we need to think about things like remorse, change of life, rebuilding of character, but also very heavily look at the situation as to what does that cost society in the long run, and look at things like recidivism rates and things like that, and say, do we actually get reform? Do we actually get corrections? And it's not a it's no simple thing to talk about taking somebody's life, even in terms of the death penalty. You know, it's a very, very heavy subject and something that shouldn't be taken lightly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I tend to agree with most of that. And again, I would look at the prison system is about justice, maybe. Reform, I think, is an admirable goal, although it's out of reach for many people in the current prison system, because a lot of people don't come out reformed. You and Larry talked about this during your campaign when he was running for governor. The prison system today, a lot of times it doesn't leave people better equipped to integrate back into public life afterwards. And also, I would add a third aspect to it, is it could be based on restitution too, which we don't really look at right now. We pay our quote unquote debt to society, not necessarily to the victims of crime, but to the state. And oftentimes victims they're sometimes left with nothing, other than a sense of justice. But, especially when you take someone's life, there's really nothing you can do to get that back. But yeah, and like in this particular case, I'll just read off some of the, like the statement of the New York City Police Benevolent Association. Patrick Lynch, he said, we're furious with the cowards and lunatics who claim to lead the state. Governor Cuomo and the state legislature spent years torturing crime victims, especially the hero families of fallen police officers. They knew that changing the parole guidelines would unleash more vicious killers like Anthony Bottom back onto our streets. They have chosen to stand with the murderers, cold-blooded assassins, and radicals bent on overthrowing society. So pretty strong words from there. His thought is, again, this man has taken 2 lives, and so there's no reason for him ever to get back in society. But what I think though is that even if I reflect on my own life, I'm a different person than I was 10 years ago. I can't imagine spending decades, I'm trying
50 years.
50 years in prison. How much do you change over the course of 50 years? And particularly,
for the better.
Yeah, and that's a fair point too. Do you change for the better, especially existing in a tough prison like Attica? But in his case, the people advocating for his parole would say, well, okay, he has grown older, he's matured, and particularly in a lot of young men, the violent tendencies that exist in youth kind of go away over time. That a lot of violent crime drastically decreases after the age of 35. So again, the chance for someone like this to hurt someone again is lower, but it's not zero. There are people who are released out on parole after they've served their times who go out and commit further crimes. And one of the issues that we see is that's what gets brought up with Taekwon Rivera a lot. He got released and he went out and continued to commit other crimes. And so, you got to ask yourself, like, well, does someone like that just need to be locked up forever for the safety of society? Has the prison system failed him? And does the prison system attempt the goal of reforming people, and is it structured to allow the correction system to assist people in becoming better, productive members of society after they're released?
Yeah, no, and I think that's those questions, along with if those goals are accomplished, if those things actually happen, does that bring justice? Does that bring fulfillment to society? Is that good? So we're going to carry on this discussion. Let's talk about it a little bit more. We're going to take a break here on Radio Free New York. We'll be back in a moment.
Don't be muzzled. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. For tonight, mostly cloudy, maybe a touch of fog. We'll drop back into the upper 40s. On Thursday, kind of a mostly cloudy day, mainly dry though. A nice chance to dry out. After a very wet start to the week, we'll have just a slight chance of a sprinkle. Temps in the low 60s. Get ready for near record warmth on Friday with a bit of a breeze. Temps in the 70s. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
Grab a pen. I'm going to give you a phone number in a moment for attorney Christopher Johnson. Chris handles car and motorcycle accident cases and DWIs and serious personal injury cases. More on that in a moment. Let's talk about big law firm advertising. You can't miss it these days. The millions lawyers spend on promotion brings in a lot of clients. That's good for the lawyer, not so good for you. The more cases a lawyer has, the less attention you get. If there's an accident or other incident, you want to feel like you're Chris Johnson's only client. So this is the number you want in your glove compartment for serious vehicle accidents or DWIs. 585-415-3803. 415-3803. At that number, you'll get individual attention and integrity, experience, and expertise. One more thing. Any so-called guarantee from a lawyer is neither not real or worthless. Understand, no attorney charges a fee until you win. So write it down, 585-415-3803. Stay safe, be healthy, drive sober. Christopher Johnson, attorney, personal injury, car, or motorcycle accidents, DWI defense.
I'm Steve Tasker, and I want you to know that Heritage Christian Services is growing and hiring people to assist adults with developmental disabilities. Over the years, my wife and I have come to know the agency, and we've seen firsthand how the staff provides compassionate and dignified support each and every day. Listen to why people like working at Heritage Christian Services.
I didn't have any experience working closely with people, like following their health plans and assisting them with daily tasks. But Heritage Christian Services helped me to learn the balance between respecting a person's independence and being there to support them when necessary. Working here makes me feel like I have more than just a job, and I appreciate the generous benefits and paid time off.
You don't need experience to apply to Heritage Christian Services, but you need to be dedicated to serving others. They'll give you the training you need, a chance to earn national credentials, and an opportunity to grow as a person. For job opportunities, visit futureyoucareers.org. That's futureyoucareers.org.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
There's a place in the village of Avon you and your critters will love. Whether they're big or small, whether they've got hair, fur, or feathers, Avon Feed fits every need. There's a full selection of pet foods for dogs and cats, bird feeders, suet, and dry shot boots and garden shoes. They've got grass and clover seed too. Check out our frequent flyer birdseed program. Buy 10 bags of birdseed, get the next bag free. Choose farm feeds and great equine products like Blue Seal and Neutrina, plus Poland drains. Everything for your pet, from feeding bowls to toys, leads, collars, and tie-outs. Avon Feed and Supply has what the big pet chain stores will never have. Tim Cole and his great, knowledgeable staff. And if you think you'll save money at that pet superstore, well, think again. While you're at Avon Feed, don't forget the two-legged pets with River Rat Thousand Island cheese and great flavors, including hard-to-find mean and nasty, plus once again nut butters, Nunday mustards, Dan's garlic, and Rickles pickles. Open weekdays 9 to 6, Saturday 9 to 4. Avon Feed and Supply, West Main Street at the bottom of the hill, just west of the Circle.
My name is Stephanie Ingalls, and I'm a team member at Tom Walls Brighton. I'll take the time to make you a root beer float that will bring you back to carefree Sunday afternoon drives of your youth. Will you take the time to join us with your family?
Share the good times. Tom Walls.
Hey, would you like to save money on your insurance? We all do. That's why I get my insurance from Lawrence Associates. They save me money on my home, auto, and landlord insurance. Do what I did and give them a call at 227-7500, Lawrence Associates Insurance.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We have Kevin Wilson with us, and we are talking about parole reform. We're talking about the idea of the justice system. Should the justice system bring about justice? Should it bring about reform? What is the purpose? What does society want the purpose to be? And then what is the right thing? Because just because society wants it doesn't actually mean that it's right or correct. You know, and if you want to take a step further, you could say, you know, what is moral, and does what's moral change over time? Kevin, what are your thoughts? Should it be justice? Should it be reform? Should it be a combination of the two? And how effective, or more than likely ineffective, is our current system at doing that?
Yeah, and before I get to that, I do want to read off one of the comments from online from Nicholas, who says, the family of 2 NYPD officers are under a life sentence that the state or its governor cannot release them from. They have been denied their loved one for the rest of their lives. We, as a society, need to do them justice by, at the very least, depriving the killer of his freedom for his life. And so again, what Nicholas brings up is certainly one conception of justice, is that if you take someone's life, then your life gets taken away forever, even if it's not the death penalty, which, you know, I think there are a lot of issues with that, and we could do a whole other show on that one. But, you know, taking away someone's life in the form of having them spend the rest of their life in prison. So even if they change as a person, it doesn't matter. Your life is still forfeit because you have committed a crime, even if you committed it at 17, 18, 19 years old. So, you know, when I think about, you know, like, what does the prison system want to do from a high level? And again, I'm approaching this from a layman's approach, from having done research on this topic and discussed it with, you know, some people who've worked in the system, some of which I disagree with. But, you know, like, what's the utilitarian approach to this, right? Like, not only is what is just, what is moral, and what is utilitarian, right? So, you know, like, how does it make sense from a cost perspective to keep people incarcerated for a long time? Does it make sense to, you know, punish them as prisoners, or does it make more sense to have them come out and ideally be better? And then what number of those prisoners, for the safety of society, need to be there? Because I think we're talking about two different things here. There are people who make kind of an anti-parole altogether argument based on the safety of society, that they look for examples of people who have been paroled and then went out to commit further crimes. And there's certainly plenty of those. So how long do you keep those people locked up? Because when they come out, they continue to hurt people, which even within, you know, extreme libertarian frameworks, that's still a legitimate role of the state. If you're hurting people, yeah, the state has an obligation to stop that, because you have a right to life that the state can intervene on, right?
Yeah, and that's like one of the core principles, you know, the non-aggression principle. That people should not bring violence upon other people, their property. You know, it's pretty important, you know, for society as a whole. And, you know, one of the things is we're having this discussion and we're talking about this, and we're talking about reform, and we're talking about justice, and to kind of tie this in to Nicholas's comment on Facebook, I want to propose the question to ponder, which is the family of those officers who lost those loved ones, and not just them specifically. Anybody who's lost a loved one to somebody who has actively taken their life, made that decision. I'm not talking about an accident, a car accident or something like that. I'm talking about made the conscious decision to kill another human being and to take their life. Would they ever see reform of that individual as justice? And I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, right. If they fundamentally changed as a person, would they offer forgiveness, right? And is that even a factor in any decision making? And legally, no, it's not. And just to again add to this, the one of the family members of one of the police officers said, we are heartbroken to see another one of Joe's killers, the police officer, set free by politics. There was another one, just to add more context, his accomplice was released in 2018. So this is coming a couple years later. And then continuing on the quote from this family member, but more than anything else, we're angry. Governor Cuomo and the Albany Democrats might think they've won. Diana Piangentini, I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce that wrong, I apologize. But they might think they've broken us. We have a message for them. We are not going anywhere. We will not go away until they are held accountable for the hell they've put us through. I owe that to my husband. My daughters owe that to their father, and we owe it to every forgotten and ignored crime victim in New York State. So again, for this family, no, absolutely. Like, it doesn't matter if this person says they've changed.
Yeah, and I think that that is something worth thinking about. At the very least, is if we focus entirely on justice for our criminal justice system, does that justice encompass the emotions of those who were the victims? And as you said, legally, it doesn't. Should it is a question, or are we calling our criminal justice system the wrong thing because it doesn't actually provide justice and it tries to provide reform, and maybe it's not incredibly effective at either?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could make the argument that it isn't incredibly effective at either one of those. And, it fails to either deliver injustice. And again, when you take someone's life, like there's no real getting that back. There's no amount of money, amount of time served that can ever make that family whole. So all you can hope for is justice. But, you could hope that, again, here's this person that now the state is taking care of, feeding, clothing, bedding, providing, security resources to through the correction system. As a society, does it make sense to keep that person jailed forever? Or does it make sense to just say, okay, how can we make sure that this person is not committing crimes, not creating new victims in the future? And if they have come to the point where they're not going to create new victims, then should they be released back into society? And again, we're getting more comments. I appreciate the discussion that's coming in online. Thank you for everyone for listening. And if you want to give us a call too, 585-346-3000. Getting a call, a comment from Jamie says, reform, you need to wipe the slate clean or get rid of the entire system. He says, hang 'em high and start again. There is no justice anymore. Yikes, man. Nicholas says, not my place or my right to forgive this man. Only the families who suffered a loss have the right to decide to forgive. And that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, the families, again, have decided that they do not want to forgive. And it's not my place to tell them how they should feel about that. And I'm not trying to here. Again, what I'm trying to look at this as a big, high-level policy discussion of, well, what do we do with all these people who are in the criminal justice system? Some of which are going to be locked up for their entire lives. Some of which, if they were released, would do nothing wrong. Some of which, if they were released, would do something wrong. But even among those who have committed serious and heinous crimes like this, what is the best policy solution for this? And again, I'm looking at money. I'm looking at morality. I'm looking at utility. How do we move forward with a criminal justice system that makes sense? Andrew, do you have all the answers for us?
I think that what is hard to have about this discussion, and it is the money on top of that. You know, it costs us, I think, $79,000 a year per inmate in prison. And so if we're going to talk about justice, you know, for families who somebody's in prison for a terrible crime for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, their life, at the cost of almost $80,000 a year, which costs the family. It costs them, you know, their small share of taxes, my share of taxes, your share of taxes. So, although we've taken away their freedom in the name of justice, and maybe also in the name of reform, I think we're going to talk about that a little bit more, we're paying a significantly high price. You know, figure for this guy, well over $1 million. It's probably cost close to, what would that be, about $3 million is probably what it's cost to keep him incarcerated for about 50 years. So does that feel like justice to the family either? Probably not. They probably haven't thought about it this way, or maybe to them it's worth that cost.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, for a lot of families, it is absolutely worth the cost to them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're going to explore this some more. I see some comments are coming in online, so guys, keep the comments rolling. We're going to read them over the break. And it sounds like we've got a caller on the line, but we're going to take that call right after the break. So we'll take a break here, guys. And caller who's on the line, please hold with us. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we're better together, and together, we're moving business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've got Kevin Wilson with us, and I think we've got Jerry from Rochester on the line. Jerry, welcome to Radio Free New York.
Oh, thank you for taking my call, Mr. Hollister. Your show today is awakening in a lot of sense. As far as the criminality, as far as what these people do to get incarcerated, as far as violent crimes in this nature, well, I tend to agree with keeping them in prison, but in the cost ratio, when you're looking at $70,000 a year, when you look at the whole judicial system as far as incarcerating people, putting them in prison, the cost to the taxpayer, especially in New York, where we have a $50 billion budget deficit, this becomes a business. And it is a business when you think about parole officers, when you think about prison guards, the cost of the prisons, cost of everything, and what it costs for this incarceration. It costs more to incarcerate a prisoner than it does to send a kid to college. And what are you getting out of it? A negative result. Myself, I was just informed of a friend of mine, he's a younger guy. He got sentenced to 1 to 3 years for smoking pot. This is out of Canandaigua. It's just totally ridiculous to what the costs are and the burdens that we have to be as taxpayers to pick up minor technicalities or infractions they should be, and we're paying through the nose, and it's just the way where people are leaving New York State because of the way things are being enforced, cost, taxes, and that's just my position on it.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for calling in, and I agree 100%. I mean, in that person's instance, you know, if they're going to spend 1 to 3 years in jail, that's costing the taxpayer 6 figures over possession of a plant.
Yeah, right. I mean, if they're like marijuana or minor drug crimes, like, is that the approach that makes sense? And you know, we're talking about like big crimes here with this, and kind of the long term prison sentences, but like we didn't even get to the small term stuff, right? Like, again, if someone steals something and then gets sent to prison over it, does the family get restitution out of it? Or does the victim get restitution out of that? And does it make sense from a financial and moral perspective to separate these people from society and spending the money to keep them in prison? And I don't know that it always does. And I think that in New York and really everywhere, the inclination is to always do that. And so at least on like some of these smaller crimes where it's not someone's life, you know, I think we need to rethink how we approach justice and restitution and reform.
Yeah, and I want to, you know, touch another thing that he mentioned, which is it costs more per year to have somebody incarcerated than it does to send a kid to school. And if we talk about even local school districts where we're seeing some significant education issues, especially in the city of Rochester, where it costs about $26,000 to $27,000 a year per student. And this ties into Angela's comment, which I'll let you read here in a second. Education can be a big driver for. There's a lot of correlation between somebody's educational background and crimes committed, and I think that if we were to look at these systems and say, wow, okay, so our criminal justice system maybe doesn't actually bring around true justice, it maybe also isn't bringing about reform in some cases, but in many not. And then also now we need to educate these people as a part of reform so they could pick up life skills to then have a life afterwards. It feels like maybe we could have had some preventative maintenance in the beginning in the education system. But Kevin, why don't you share Angela's comment?
Gonna kind of relate to that. And again, because I haven't said it yet, thank you, Jerry, for the thoughtful call too. But Angela says it's a difficult issue. People commit heinous crimes should be punished. However, I think our criminal justice system needs to focus more on reforming prisoners and helping them become more productive members of society. When we release prisoners, we just let them out and hope they can figure it out on their own. Instead, we should educate them and give them skills to obtain meaningful employment. Fair enough. I mean, I don't know what that looks like, or the logistics of that being possible, but that's certainly something worth considering. Nick also says, I'm enjoying this discussion. Thanks, Nick. And he says another comment says, yes, we need to rethink criminal justice, focus on reform, not punishment for nonviolent crimes. And then says sealing criminal records after time served. Well, I mean, that's a good question. I think, maybe it depends on what the crime is. I think.
Yeah, and I think that this is kind of I know we started this topic talking about parole reform, and
we didn't actually get to you all that much.
Talk about what's being proposed for parole reform, but I think the conversation is really important to have for people to consider and think about what type of system do we really want, and do we want a justice system? Do we want a reform system? Maybe a blend of the two. How can we approach that? And Angela's comment is, I think, really important as well, because she mentions, having the skills to obtain meaningful employment. And that is part of the reason that the recidivism rate is where it is, because people get out of jail after, let's call it 20 years. And maybe you have life skills, maybe you don't. Maybe you've picked up some life skills in jail or prison that aren't really applicable to the civilian world, and now you have to reintegrate into society. And is there support or a path to doing that effectively to prevent that recidivism? Is there a way to get employment so you're not committing more crime to survive and get by? And I know some prisons do have that. I know there are some programs. I'm not intimately aware of the details, but I know there are some programs that are out there. They're trying to bridge the gaps. I know there's one that focuses specifically on veterans, trying to make sure that they have a good step from criminal justice back into society. But I think overall, as a whole, we've got a lot of work to do if we want to see reform.
No, there's a ton of work to do, and again, making the criminal justice system work and make sense. And we get another comment: preventive education, like good parenting. Well, yeah, sure, that's part of it.
It's important. That's really preventative.
It's
for
definitely
sure.
part of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, we didn't get to all the actual parole reform issues, which is great, because we'll talk about it another time. But I also think about, and we only got a couple minutes left, but the incentives for prison systems themselves. A lot of the time, the incentive is to keep people in, particularly when you're working with quasi-privatized prisons. The incentive is to keep the beds filled, right? And Alex Merced, the former vice chair of the Libertarian National Party, he was trying to tell me, well, what if we made the incentive to these private prisons could get bonuses if the recidivism rate was low, right? Like their success was based on a 5-year, outcome of did people have to go back to prison, right? So can you incentivize and pay people on that system? Can we leverage profit incentive in this? And I think using profit incentive to lock people up is really ugly. But can we think about this in a different way? And how can creative people work towards keeping people out of prison long term and making sure that they're not using violence against others?
Yeah, so we'll definitely have to do a part 2 of this discussion. So look for that, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on Radio Free New York. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow.